If you look around Africa, you see that we lack quality leaders.
Yes.
We lack leaders that are selfless, leaders that are diplomatic, leaders that are transformational. It's not that we don't have them, but on a large scale, the percentage of leaders that are truly transformational leaders, it's very small.
Charisma alone does not make good leaders. Good leaders alone are not the ones that are always in front. You can be at the back and still lead excellently well. You are not everywhere and nowhere.
If we're going to make a change in Africa, positional leadership is not enough because it's going to take more than that to drive meaningful change on this continent. We're saying let's make the barrier, the entry level into leadership knowledge so low that all you need to enter in is interest.
This is the future of leadership. This is where future leaders are raised. Not just future leaders, but even leaders in the present moment. People that are shaping culture, people that are bringing about transformation. If you are not at the front, I mean, what are you doing with your life? Right?
Yes, we should ask you.
You're not at the front. What are you doing with your life? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fort Talks, the official podcast of the Fort Institute. My name is Kingsley Chukwuma, the founder and executive director of the Fort Institute. And here with me is
Oluwumi Oyekomi, instructional designer for the Fort Institute.
And Emmanuel Adefa, the program manager for the Fort Leadership Development courses.
All right. It's great having you both in the studio this morning.
Thank you.
I would ask you, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
You look,
you
both look beautiful.
Yeah.
Handsome, beautiful. But yeah, thank you.
Handsome, beautiful. Noted. So it's really amazing having us in the studio again for the second episode of Fort Talks. So today we are going to be talking about one of the innovative programs at the Fort Institute, the leadership development courses. But before we get right into it, over the weekend we had our flagship event. So I want to ask our guests on the show this morning how it was for them. So Lumi, how was the Fort Awards 2025 for you?
For me so far, it feels like the most exciting thing that has happened this year.
Wow.
The energy was palpable. It was very tangible. The excitement on leaders' faces. I saw a lot of people saying, oh, I've known this person online for 3 years and finally I'm getting to put a face to the name. I personally, there were leaders that I'd been talking with over the phone, chatting online that I had never seen before. So connecting with them in person was really great. But beyond the communal aspect, the leadership summit itself, the chat that was given by our board, the chairman of our board, Mrs. Margaret Jackson, she brought the life, she brought the fire.
She did.
It was really amazing. And it was not just all talk. She gave us blueprints. She gave us tangible steps that we can work on as leaders that are trying to shape culture in Africa. And it was really amazing. And the fact that she said so many serious things, but it was still all fun, with good attitude. I mean, we danced first before she even started her keynote speech.
I think I love the dance. The dance was so beautiful.
Like every moment we just, then let's go to the Fort Awards, the dinner night itself. Let me allow Emmanuel to talk about that.
Okay, Emmanuel, how was the Fort Awards 2025?
Yeah, for me, it was all shades of glory and excellence. That's where I would capture mine. I mean,
glory.
It was a very exciting time, actually. I mean, getting to meet people you've been bonding with over a long period of time, just chatting on WhatsApp and all. Right. So, I mean, getting to add faces to those names is something that is really exciting. And the program itself, the organization, the excellence, and everything about it was really, really phenomenal. Right. So I had absolutely a great time.
Amazing.
The lessons, the panel sessions, the speakers from Mrs. Margaret, as Olumi mentioned. I mean, it was really insightful, motivating, inspiring. You know, don't look for all the adjectives.
All the beautiful adjectives.
So you did qualify that.
So right. Olumi, if I would ask you, of course, this is not a podcast about the Fort Awards. But if I would ask you to say something to leaders looking forward to TFA 2026, what would you say to them? Any fortifier in the community? If
you're not even a fortifier, this is the time for you to be striving to do whatever it takes to be a fortifier so you can get to be a part of TFA 2026. Awesome. This is our second TFA so far. The last one was 4 years ago.
Yes, 2021.
Yeah, 2021. And what we had this year was amazing. But I know that next year is going to be super duper amazing.
Definitely. Yeah, I quite in tandem with what she said. And, if you are not at the fault, I mean, what are you doing with your life? Right?
Yes, we should ask you.
You're not at the fault. What are you doing with your
yeah,
life?
this is the future of leadership. This is where future leaders are raised. I mean, not just future leaders, but even leaders in the present moment. People that are shaping culture, people that are bringing about transformation. Not just even Africa, we'll be exporting leaders from Africa in the nearest future to even impact and raise leaders in other spheres, right? So this is just the place to be. You get to be inculcated into the values of the fourth basic leadership knowledge that you need to know as to start with as a leader. Then you begin to grow even as you go in your leadership journey and experiences as well, right? So this is just the place to be. We have always been passionate about leadership, passionate about impact, want to become a person of influence. I mean, you just have to be a part of the fourth.
Amazing.
If I could add something to that,
Okay.
I would say that one of the reasons that made this last weekend special was the fact that this year alone, as an institute, we had a growth that surpassed our past 4 years cumulative. And it was really amazing that the different people that have been making that work
milestones
coming together to celebrate,
Yes,
and the live band.
Story for another day. Story for another day. So I count it a great honor to be interviewing I call them two of some of my best leaders, right? All our leaders at the Fort Institute are my best leaders, but these two are really phenomenal. The program manager and our instructional designer. And we'll be talking about, again, like I mentioned, a very innovative course, a global leadership formation, leadership development courses. So I'll start with the first question. Emmanuel, what are the leadership development courses? For those who do not know what those innovative courses.
All right, thank you very much. So in the Fourth Institute, we have a couple of leadership development courses. The first, which happens to be the foundational one, happens to be our basic leadership development course, soon to be changed to foundational leadership development course.
Yeah.
Right. So this is like the entry-level leadership development course that anyone getting into the institute gets to start with. Right. We call it foundational in the sense that this is like the basics. This is where you ought to start from as a leader, getting to understand Africa, getting to know more about what is expected of you as a leader, getting to familiarize yourself with basic skills like emotional intelligence, communication, digital literacy, and all of that. So these are values, these are skills, these are knowledge that is expedient of a leader should actually know, right? So when you get acquainted with all of that, you're now able to go talking of more specialized courses, some of which will be launching in the coming year.
Yes. Thank you so much for that introduction. Now, Lumi, if I would ask you, of course, there are several courses around the world, several courses. What inspired the leadership development courses? We call it the innovative course for the Fourth Institute, but what inspired it?
If you look around Africa, you see a gap in the.
Yes.
You see that we lack quality leaders.
Yes.
We lack leaders that are selfless, leaders that are diplomatic, leaders that are transformational. It's not that we don't have them, but on a large scale, the percentage of leaders that are truly transformational leaders, it's very small.
Yeah.
So if we cannot make that influence from the top, if we cannot go to the presidency, if we cannot go to the political leaders, to the public institutions and make that change from there, the best way is to catch them young. The best way is to start from the grassroots, right? So that is what we are doing with the leadership development courses. It is like an entry level, a gateway into leadership for people, because we realize that so many people, especially young people, know nothing about leadership. If you ask them, are you a leader? The automatic response will be no, especially those who have never been a class captain. They have never...
Positional leadership.
Yes, that's what they know. They think leadership is when I'm class captain, when I'm an honorable in my legislative house, when I'm something. So they just think that they are not leaders, right? Because we get that response a lot while facilitating those sessions. I'm sure every single one of us did. And you hear yesterday,
I'm not a leader.
Yes, exactly.
No, my father is a leader. My mom is not a leader. My class captain is the leader. I'm not the leader.
I'm not a leader, right? So the leadership to them, as there's been so much emphasis on positional leadership, which is also a form of leadership. However, if we're going to make a change in Africa, positional leadership is not enough, because it's going to take more than that to drive meaningful change on this continent. So that was what inspired leadership development courses. Was saying let's make the barrier, the entry level into leadership knowledge so low that all you need to enter in is interest. Once you're interested, once you're curious, like you have this curiosity of, I want to do something better with my life, I want to live a life that is beyond me, then you're welcome on board.
Amazing. You have said a lot in very few minutes. Now, Emmanuel, I remember in 2020 when we began, it was so unstructured. It was not just structured, right? In 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, we just had webinars, right? We had webinars. There was no leadership development courses at the fore. And then in 2024, we began to design a course where we would have the structured courses in a specific manner, right?
Yeah.
Now, that would be this, call it the second quad, right? The
Yes.
second quad.
Yeah.
Now, what inspired that creation for that second quad? Like, I know you were a facilitator then. Of course, you were not the program manager at the
Yes,
time.
yes.
But what inspired that creation?
Yeah, I can vividly remember,
Yeah.
just as you've narrated about that year 2020. I joined in 2021, so
Yes.
that was still when we were having a lot of webinars. So I
Webinars,
attended a lot of that then. Right, but over time, we observed that, of course, we had a period where we were also doing a lot of restructuring. So we weren't really admitting people then. Right, so by the time we resuscitated the institute and rebranding and all of that came forth, right, we just had to look for a way to really grow our leadership, right? At the time, it was like a system whereby we were able to admit new people into the institute. And the way to really go about that was to kind of set up a system that beyond them just being added to a WhatsApp group or, just having so many people, we can't even tell who is who and whether they are really grounded.
Track them as well.
Right. So I believe that course was just like that entry level that kind of makes it possible for people that are really interested, people that, buy into the vision, into the mission of what we do in the institute, that will be able to join. And of course, the course affords them that opportunity to just get so knowledgeable and to become acquainted with all they need to know about leadership. Right. I believe that was the brain behind that, such that we have a system that really admits people. And beyond just that, after they've been trained for a couple of months, they now become alumni, now become parts of the institute, whereby they keep going and all of that, right? So I remember that C2 started 2024, that was last year, and, we had just about 50 thereabouts, just getting
applicants, right?
Exactly, right? And I was privileged to be part of the, inaugural facilitators then too, that I remember taking a session on institutional leadership, right? And another cohort followed that same year, 2024, towards the end of the year. I remember then too, we had just a few applications, above 100. So for the entire 2024, I think we had less than 200 registrations, right? So we were able to facilitate those two cohorts last year, which is the C2 and C3. So coming into 2025, I was privileged to take over as the program manager for the course, and I was just thinking of how we can really make it better, we can make it more innovative and all of that. And thought started with, having that vision, having that drive that we really want to achieve this together and all. And it started with being able to set a goal. Like, we had a goal of what we can really be able to achieve. Right. And I remember then we set a goal of 500. We're like, this not to be, this not to. And, with the motivation, with the encouragement, support of everyone, we won't be able to exceed that. We had over 700 registrations at the time, and over 400 of them were eventually, admitted into the group. And about 150 thereabouts ended up graduating from that, just C4 alone, right? So that boost, that motivation kind of, gingered everyone. Now we're like, yes, we definitely can do even more better for the C5 cohort. And going forward, we're able to set a goal. We're able to set a goal of about 2,000 thereabouts, eventually achieved 1,304 students eventually applied, about 800 and over 800, were eventually admitted, about 827 thereabouts eventually admitted, and eventually we had 167 graduating, right? So that's just like the path, that's the trend.
We'll come to that.
Okay.
We'll come to the numbers very soon. I think this is a very good place to appreciate the inaugural program coordinator, as we then called her, Adidatu Yaya, because I always believe the beginning of things are always difficult. So she literally walked so Emmanuel could fly. So Adidatu Yaya, Nene, we call her Nene. Nene means mother. It's a Senegalese language, means mother. And so thank you very much for shaping that early BLDC experience. So you did so well with the second and the third cohorts last year. Emmanuel took over this year and he led the fourth and the fifth cohort. So thank you so much for your leadership of those cohorts. Now, to you, Olumi, how did that early BLDC experience shape the entire LDC suite? How do you think it actually shaped it? I mean, the second and the third cohort, how did it shape the entire? I mean, now we are now shifting from, we said we are shifting from calling it the basic leadership development course to being the foundational leadership development course. You see that there is, of course, there should be growth, right? Emmanuel just rightly mentioned that we had less than 200 applications last year. This year we exceeded 2,000. And we know at the Fourth Institute, we are just not just about numbers. As I would always say, if 10 people apply, we would give the same energy to teach, with which we would give 100,000 young leaders. So it's good to focus on one leader. It's also good to focus on 100,000 leaders. So how would you say the experiences from last year, the ideations, because there was a lot of ideations, especially for the fourth and the fifth cohort, the fifth cohort especially, and we'll come to that. But how would you say it shaped the entire restructuring of the LDCs? I remember before we said there were going to be 3 tiers for the leadership development courses: the basic, the intermediate, the advanced. But now we shaped everything, and we are now saying, okay, anyone coming into the institute, it's going to be foundational. We are going to change the name from being basic to being foundational. And at the Fourth Institute, we are very, very particular about naming. We are very, very particular about our naming nomenclature. And we are now calling it the foundational leadership development courses, such that they are it's like a foundation for what you're going to study in leadership. And really, we have amazing models, right, that introduce young leaders to leadership. Like you rightly mentioned, we want leaders to see themselves as leaders, not external people. So again, to the question, how would you say that early experience, that early feelings, because we had a lot of feelings as well, how would you say it has shaped the entire LDC suite?
Okay, so like you said, we lay foundations and we get better, right?
Yes.
I like to say that the failures and successes of yesterday give us a springboard into tomorrow. So that's
Yes.
what I'm going to say.
Yes.
Starting from, in fact, if we want to really analyze the journey of LDCs,
Yeah.
we should take it from the webinars. We cannot just
From 2020,
yes,
right?
we
Yes.
should take it from the webinars. It was, if we hadn't done those webinars, we might not, what we have today might not be as excellent as it is, because we failed so much, we succeeded so much, we learned a lot of lessons. So at that point in 2020, we started with what's like the easiest thing to do at that point, right? Start from the flat place, start from the easiest place where you can start making impact. So we started with the webinars and a lot of information, passing out information on leadership, teaching people about leadership. And it was because we did that we realized that webinars would not be enough for what we are building.
Yes, and it's a good time to say what you can't measure, you can't track. What you can't, I think it's a recursive model. What you can't track, you can't measure, whatever. So then we're having so many webinars, and we have external leaders, and then we just ideated again and said, these people are coming and they are going. Why not just make it a more structured course where we are able to track the people we are training?
Yes.
Please go on.
Yes. So like you said, we had a lot of, we featured a lot of leaders, like a lot of people would invite people to come on board, teach us about leadership. Then we also had Head Start conference. We should not remove Head Start from this story, really. We had Head Start conference where it was just all about leadership, teaching different things, personal branding, email communication, teaching
Emotional intelligence,
personal leadership. That has always been a key. Like that has always been a core of our LDCs, right? So if we're going to look at how the journey has been so far, we have to start from the webinars. So yes, the webinars and as well the second and third cohorts that we had last year really shaped this journey, because that was what we were able to evaluate. So it was in evaluating it that we saw that, okay, maybe we did not even set, the goal we set was not big enough. The metrics for measurement were not as clear, like they could be better. So it was lessons that we picked from all of those initial days last year, 4 years ago, that helped us to create something more structured that we have as the basic leadership development course, which is now going to be changed to foundational leadership development course. So yes, those early days were very, very important, and I think they are the springboard on which we are working today. So if another person, with Emmanuel being the program director now, if another person will be the program director tomorrow, they are not to despise the early days of our webinars, because that's what we are riding on.
I love that very much. I love that very, very, very much. So now, of course, we at the Fort and amongst our team members, we call the LDCs a global leadership formation. It's we make boasts to say that's one of the best courses in the world. It's nowhere in the world. It's nowhere in the world where we have the specific kind of model the leadership development courses operate under, right? And so I'll go to Emmanuel. Why would you? How would you say this course is competitive? You say, of course, we can just throw words around, right? We can throw words around, but the words needs to have backing. Why do we say leadership development courses? Specifically right now, the foundational leadership development course. Why do we say it's globally competitive? Why do we say it's a world best?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it's not too much to use that word because it's quite articulate and puts to perspective what we actually doing represents. Right? If you look at the model we operate, I mean, it's not a very common model that you find several institutions operating.
Yes.
And this is the decentralized system whereby we do not just pack so many people in a particular group where they are just interacting, and the personal touch, the personal encounter between the facilitators and the students is not really there, right? But with the kind of system we operate, we call it forts. I mean, so we have the general forts where we house all of the students that apply.
Forts are like, so let's make that clear for our audience. So forts are like group. We call our groups forts.
Yeah, that's the general forts. Then we have sub forts, right? For example, during the cohort 4 now, we had 10 forts. Right, we had over 800 applications, and when these people were eventually onboarded, many of them, over 400 of them, were in that general forts group. Right, but we don't just want a general house where we have so many people. We just want that personal encounter, that personal touch should be there, whereby people know that they are truly being impacted, and that is able to happen when they are broken down into teams of smaller units, whereby they are able to interact markedly with each other, and even when the facilitator is teaching, is able to have a more personalized experience with them. When you're having just about 50 people in a particular class, it's different from when you're having 200 or 300, right? So it makes more sense that way. The impact feels more real, and even coming down to capstone projects, you're able to measure it more effectively. They're able to, for those that are doing similar projects, they're able to work together. They are basically able to relate more effectively with each other compared to when everyone is just in a particular group, right? And the protege system also, the kind of system we operate, the kind of model that we operate is such that we have facilitators impacting these young leaders themselves going to become leaders such that they're impacting people. So the kind of system we have is a mass leadership production system. I had to coin that word to
mass leadership reproduction system. Please take note of that. Mass leadership reproduction system.
Right. The brain behind it is that we have facilitators training these leaders. They're literally mentoring them. And as they're also growing, they're becoming more knowledgeable. They are going to have more experience. And they themselves are also becoming facilitators. Right. So we have facilitators raising facilitators raising facilitators. These facilitators going ahead to raise more leaders. These leaders themselves becoming facilitators. So I mean, you can imagine the kind of ripple effect you have in the next 10 years if this model is sustained. Right. And it will really contribute actively in the long-term vision of impacting 10 million, raising 10 million transformational leaders for Africa by 2050. So, I mean, we just have to be able to scale it that way. And if such approach is sustained, the height at which it will reach you cannot imagine how far it will really go, because you can't even truly quantify the number of people that would have ended up impacting at the end of the day. So this is what really makes the system unique. That personalized approach, that approach that empowers even trainers, even the students to become trainers themselves, not just leaving them after graduation.
Very beautiful. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things I love about our leadership development courses. It's a near peer model where students can become facilitators. Of course, not all students that have been identified to be truly transformational, they end up becoming facilitators themselves. So it's basically learning by doing, and you begin to, and we saw that I got so many messages, even as the director, I got so many messages from the facilitators, from the third cohort, the fourth cohort, and messages like, from the fourth and the fifth cohort, messages like, oh, when I read the training manual, there was this particular word I didn't know the meaning. I went to research and I kept researching. While I was teaching, I was learning more. I have to even go back to
able to speak.
I mean, not just for the students. I mean, for the facilitators themselves. And one thing I really love about the model we operate under is because facilitators are easily accessible. They're not older mentors, older peers. There are people like you. There are people like myself. So students are able to relate more. We can joke while teaching. We can also get serious, right? So it's just that beautiful model. And one of the reasons I love it again, the decentralized thought, for example, is because it's not a physical space. We are doing this across communities. One of the reasons I also love the leadership development courses is the demography. So audience gets an idea of the demography. Like I said, it's a virtual space. It's a digital space, and it's not a physical space. And so doing a decentralized model of instruction is very difficult for a virtual space. And we've been able to achieve that in 2 cohorts, right? In 2 cohorts, we've been able to achieve that.
Yes.
And now it's not just leaders in Nigeria. 3 of us here on the show are Nigerians. But in the 5th cohort, for example, give us an idea of let our audience know an idea of how many countries, we had participants from or applications from how many countries students were admitted from. Just give an estimated number. Not an estimated number, but an actual number.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Right. So in the 5th cohort, for instance, as I mentioned, we had so many applications, over 800 applications received from several countries across Africa and even beyond Africa.
Yes.
From Africa in particular, we've covered over 20 countries, for instance. Right. So in the group, in the general thought, we're having people from different countries. Your court mates can be from Ghana, we have Uganda, we have, just name different countries. And literally, these sessions are being held simultaneously from these participants of different countries joining in, right? So it's such a system whereby we are not just impacting people in a local sense, but even beyond Nigeria, even beyond Africa, we're having this course spreading there. So the fact that it is online means that there are no limitations of any sort.
Yes,
so
yes.
You can't say that because you don't have access to a physical venue or something. All you need is just internet and a good phone.
Availability.
Exactly.
That's all. So of course, we say the leadership development courses are competitive, globally competitive. That's a pride of our institute. But for the students that partake in these courses, how competitive do the leadership development courses make the students? I know we have, in the 5th cohort, for example, we had more than 10 modules because we introduced a new module on mental health, resilience, right? But how competitive do our modules make the leaders who participate in the cohort?
The basic leadership development course is quite competitive, even for the students, because it meets them at the point where they are. That is one thing I love about it. It's very basic, but then it's not basic till the end. It's basic at the beginning because it starts with our first model, personal leadership. It starts with personal leadership because if you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead people, right? So that is what everybody, no matter where you are, everybody can relate to. Personal leadership. So that's one thing I love about it. It starts from a point where everybody can relate with, and then it takes them on that gradual journey, even up until institutional leadership. So it's very competitive in the sense that our participants first learn how to manage their own lives. They learn how to manage their immediate relationships, and then they learn how to institutionalize their impact. So yes, it's competitive because if you can master these 3 things, you can master relationships, you can master personal leadership, self-management, and you can know how to institutionalize your impact, then
amazing.
You're set to go global.
I love that point. I love the points you just raised. The 3 points. Let's take note of that. The 3 points you just raised are very, very germane to developing oneself, right? And making our participants, our students, our fortifiers globally competitive, self-leadership, relationship management, relationship building, basically, and then institutionalizing all that. It's very, very important. So I'll go next to Emmanuel. Of course, we have values at the Fort Institute. We have philosophies we uphold. Now, how about these philosophies? How have we infused them into these courses such that one of the reasons, again, I have to chip this in. One of the reasons I love the Fort community, it's that as a founder, their values I uphold, and I see also leaders replicating the same thing. I was saying just last night that there were some write-ups I was seeing online, and they were looking like something I would have written, right? That culture, it's been shaped, and I know that's one of the values we have, right?
Yeah.
We have that culture there that every leader is excellent. We call it restless excellence at the Fort. But how have we infused those philosophies, these values into the leadership development courses, and how has it shaped the program itself?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a very important question. Right. So talking about values, right? Values are literally what shape culture.
Yes.
Right. So when we are talking about shaping culture, transforming lives, transforming people, we can't but talk about values. And this is one of the major highlights that helps us in the fort. So we start by inculcating these values as leaders ourselves, people that starting from the management team to the facilitators that are even training these leaders. Right. So when we're literally able to display these values before them, they can't but catch up with it as well. Right. Coming to the restless essence that you talked about is that ability to just keep reinventing oneself, not satisfied by the successes of the past, but the ability to keep pressing forward. Right. You don't say because we've imparted, this number of leaders this year that we can't do more. Right. We keep pushing it, keep pushing it, keep pushing it. Actually, for the fact that the vision, the dream that we have before us is a very large one. Right. So talking about this, I mean, that environment that we've also created, the environment that we've also created is an environment whereby they have to just be committed. I mean, we display all of the requirements for graduation before them, right at the point where they are being admitted, 70% attendance, you have to be able to complete your capstone project. So many of these people, by the time they enter, they are all excited and everything. Yeah, but when they begin to get into it, I mean,
the real work.
Yeah, it is the serious.
Because we actually don't just teach leadership.
Yes,
we don't.
yes.
I always say you don't teach someone leadership. You just like you can take the horse to the stream. You cannot force it to drink water. So you don't just teach leadership. You teach leadership by doing. Exactly. So when they get to the doing part, that's when some people start. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore.
Right. So many people feel that it should just be the regular stuff where they just teach, get their certificate and go. Yeah, but that's not sustainable. That's not a sustainable approach. So the kind of system that we operate is, I mean, anyone that gets to graduate at the end of the day, such the best we know that it truly worked for it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it is in the process of doing all of this, that's in the process that you get to develop discipline, get to inculcate the habit of excellence, hardworking, diligence, and these are attitude, these are skills that in the long term, they are really going to take anyone far. Right. So I believe these are some of the approaches, these are some of the practices that we imbibe that help these people really become outstanding when they graduate.
Amazing. Now, Oluwumi, you shape out and you design how this courses go, and I believe you're also very should I say familiar with most of the participants, not one-on-one, but of course you get through the applications, you read through the submission, the capstone projects. I remember how hectic the fifth cohort was for you, right? Now, if you would say what has been the most intriguing thing, what has been the most outstanding thing you've seen that has made the participants grow from start of the program to finish? For example, Emmanuel rightly mentioned that we had more than 1,300 applications for the fifth cohort. 800 plus were admitted. Less than 200 graduated. You see how completely hectic it means. The program was really hectic, right? But how has it been like? What has been the most impactful thing for you seeing a student grow from that beginning stage, being one of those 1,300 and maybe 4 students to be admitted to apply, and now getting through to less than 200 students
to graduate?
Yes, to graduate.
Okay, so I'll first like to say that our graduation rate for the fifth cohort was 20.3%. I know that if this was a normal institution, like all the faculty will be running up and down, but that is poor. But for us, we are so excited because, for instance, if we go to, I think, an average tertiary institution in Nigeria, the criteria for graduation, they say you must be found worthy in character and learning. Yes. In learning, they have grades that, if you have below third class, okay, I remember you and my said then they said there's nothing like pass any longer. It's either you're on first class, second class, or third class. But before then, there used to be pass, and you know that if you have anything less than pass, you can't graduate, right? But there's the other part. Even if you have a perfect CGPA, if you're found worthy in character, you go nowhere. You're not going to graduate. So those two criteria for universities.
If you're found unworthy.
If you're found unworthy in character, you will not graduate, irrespective of how good your grades are.
Yeah, and you remember some students, they had 100% attendance, yes. But of course they found wanting in character. So
okay, yeah. So if I would speak to that, the most interesting thing, the most intriguing thing for me, seeing the students' growth, the major marker of the growth that many students had in this cohort,
yes,
was reflected in the personal leadership reflection. So in their report submission, there's a section where they're supposed to talk about how their leadership reflections, how did the project How did it shape them? And reading through what people said, a lot of people really mentioned this positional leadership thing, the fact that they never saw themselves as leaders, and
yes.
now they are the ones negotiating with stakeholders to carry out a project in their community. That is beautiful. That is the joy of it.
Amazing,
Yes.
amazing. It's really beautiful to see how someone can start a program from ground zero, and at the end of the program they are at 100, and that is the fourth leadership immersion, and you should be part of it. You should be part of it. And so, Emmanuel, it leads me to my next question. Some of these participants, they apply to this program,
Okay.
and of course, we are familiar with the first week, the second week, after the onboarding, the third week, they came in with misconceptions. Right? One of which we have been seeing all through this show.
Okay.
We have been talking about the fact that they don't see themselves as leaders, which is one of the misconceptions they have. What are other misconceptions you've observed that the students come in with?
Right.
And then that is being overturned towards the mid program, the end of the program.
Right. So some of the other misconceptions, apart from the one you've highlighted, which happens to be the positional leadership
thing, yes.
kind of attitude, is that people are so defective in the kind of approach they have to leadership as touching doing. Right. So we find ourselves in an environment whereby people are just more knowledge driven, more of just gathering knowledge, and the ability to really translate that knowledge into practice is not a
talking leaders, not doing leaders.
So I mean, and it's all painted all over our environment, all over the African kind of leadership that we find ourselves in, because we do not have good leadership being modeled to us as such. Right? The situation where we have our political leaders making promises and we are not really seeing it. Right? So that's the kind of approach that I believe people also find themselves in, where they just get into programs and they believe that, let me just attend these classes, get this knowledge, and graduate, get my certificate. We now find ourselves in a certificate
driven environment.
Environment whereby it is just to have that identity or just to show and things like that. So I believe a lot of people that get into this program with that mentality are those that literally struggle to commit. Right. So, but at the end of the day, we have people catching up. I mean, when you see your neighbors, you see your friends doing it, you begin to feel motivated also. Right. And many people, started the project and feel like, I can't really do this capstone project. You find a lot of people just leaving the group. But some people will still stay through, and in this process of staying through, they begin to develop those traits of discipline, perseverance, and they might just look casual, and the results might not even appear in the immediate. But in the long term, what they will be able to get to achieve with those traits, if they keep true to it, will be something really phenomenal that they'll be proud of. Right. So that doing culture needs to be ingrained more into our leadership, and any leadership that is devoid of execution, any leadership that is devoid of practice is not an effective kind of leadership. So when we are practicing leadership, it should literally go beyond just passing out knowledge, imparting knowledge, to making it in a way, embedding the approach of practice. Right. When we are telling them to do something, we ourselves are modeling that. But beyond just modeling that, we are also equipping them to also equally apply what they are learning.
Right?
Amazing. I think one of the myths that already comes to mind is the fact that some of the students come into the program with the idea that all leaders are charismatic, in the sense that, I must walk with the gates of Barack Obama. I must walk with the gates of Tony Lumelu, Martin Luther King. I have a dream. But we usually demystify those, because really, if I would say it's a bias I have, most of the best leaders I've seen, most of the really outstanding leaders I've seen are not really charismatic. In fact, they can't even come here to talk like the way I talk, right? But does it make them any less of a leader? We always see, and then another thing we also demystify is the fact that leaders always have to be seen. Leaders do not always have to be seen. So that's one myth we always demystify. Two examples come to mind right now. A participant named Odesola Oluwabamiche. She was a participant in the 5th course. Of course, she graduated. I remember when she started, she told me, she was a really shy person. So she joined the inaugural edition of the Bold Summer Leadership Camp. She literally spoke in front of students, secondary school students, something she had never done in her life. And there are people like that I can mention names like Fini Falade, right? Doing things for the first time. So you don't really necessarily have to be so charismatic.
charisma itself does not make someone a leader. You can be so charismatic. Isla was a charismatic leader, or was he a good leader? Was someone you categorize as a demagogue, someone who uses emotions to sway people? But was he a good leader? Right. So charisma alone is not a criteria for good leadership. And I think that's one of the myths the program demystifies, that charisma alone does not make good leaders. Good leaders alone are not the ones that are always in front. You can be at the back and still lead excellently well. You are not everywhere and nowhere, right? And I think the Fourth Institute itself we've done a great job at demystifying this very common myth that leaders have to be positional, that you just have to learn and keep learning. No, we don't just say titles. We pack titles. Chief, doctor, engineer, barristers, PhD, MMPP, NPC, APC, PhD, before the name itself, right? So we demystify all those titles. They are not necessary. We demystify the fact that you have to have a lot of titles, a lot of awards, a lot of plaques. I can be a transformational leader without this. I see them as load, very heavy load. Just carrying all these titles. I'm waiting for 10 minutes for them to read your prefixes before they say your name. Very unnecessary. But it's a thing that I think it's a cultural thing that we've inherited from the past, right? That we just need to let go of, because most of our audience, as we rightly know, are students. And I would always say the campus where they are is the microcosm of the larger society. If you see a campus leader that is so enthused to its positional titles, you want to be president for having that title of being president. You want to be governor for having that title of being governor, but you're not doing the work commensurate with it. Trust me, when you get out to the main society and we elect you as a community leader, you're going to do so poorly. And so these are some of the things we demystify at the Fourth Institute, that you can be an ordinary person. You don't have to do something big, and that is the point of the capstone project. You don't have to do something so Herculean. It can be something as simple as, oh, this is my community, this is my environment. I see these children around, they don't go to school. They are just maybe 5 children. I bring them together, start teaching them basic literacy and numeracy. We have a very, very wide gap in literacy and numeracy skills on the continent. It can be something so simple. So simple. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And I think that's what the capstone project taught the students, that the change I have to make does not have to be so big. We saw a student, right, in Uganda. There was accident. Just say something briefly about that.
Okay.
Because I think it was really, really beautiful what the student did.
If I'm going to spotlight projects like that, I would just like to talk about 2 from the same country, Uganda. The first one, there's a particular institution in Uganda where the major road in front of the institution is quite a busy road, and accidents happen there often. So the students decided that, okay, what can I do to prevent these accidents from happening? And they decided to come together and paint a zebra crossing in front of, it can be that little, but they know that they are solving a problem, right? And the other project that really caught my attention from the same Uganda, these things look very simple. That's just to buttress Kingsley's point that change does not always have to be glamorous and grandiose. It doesn't have to be so gigantic, right? The second one was a person that did, and was nominated for an award actually, Greening Kumai Community Center, something like that. That was the title of the project. What this person did, Gilbert, yes, Gilbert. What he did was to plant trees. Right.
So simple.
So simple, but the way he got into the idea, the way he executed the project, the way he engaged the stakeholders, the way he measured the impact was so beautiful. And what I really loved about it was the sustainability of it. First, it was like, oh, this community center, there are no trees. Trees are not common around this area. The greenery is very low. So he decided to come and plant trees in the health center. And he didn't just plant any tree. He was so intentional that he decided to plant trees that are fruits that can also feed the community. So he planted guava, he planted orange, he planted mangoes. These are trees that you know that in the next
let's clap for this. Let's clap for this leaders on this show.
And he wrote it, I planted 6 orange trees, this number of mango trees, and he was very intentional about it. So you know that project, I'm sure that project probably did not take him maybe more than max 40 hours, but the impact will still be there. 15
I'll
years
leave
to
him,
come.
yes.
Because
I'll
people will
leave
keep
him.
coming. Someone can come, sit down under the tree. Maybe they are waiting to be attended to. He can sit down under the tree if there's no space inside. You can just cool shade the environment. And also, like, you can just pluck mangoes and eat. I just really love the sustainability and the fact that the project achieves so many things. There is so many problems all at once. So we're saying that the simplest things can actually bring the biggest change.
So basically, we can say we are not just learning at the Fourth Institute with our leadership development courses. The learnings themselves, they are translating into measurable outcomes, right?
Yes, that was the biggest deal of this course. In fact, this cohort 5, this is my favorite. This year has been my favorite time at Leaders Fort at the Fourth Institute. This year has been my greatest time.
So Leaders Fort was the former name of the
Yes, we
Fourth
used to
Institute.
be Leaders Fort before we became the Fourth
Fourth
Institute.
Institute, yeah.
This year has been my favorite time because of the impact. And also, there's a way when you know that what you're doing works. There's a way it reinforces your interest. There's a way it
Gets you excited.
boosts your morale. When I saw the projects these people had, we reached more than 3,000 people. Just this cohort. Kingsley did not reach 3,000 people on his own. I did not get anywhere close to that.
More than
Emmanuel
8,000. More than 8,000 actually. For the Fourth Institute alone in 2025.
No, I'm talking about this cohort 5 of
Cohort 5.
BLDC.
Yes, the beneficiaries will be more than 8,000.
8,000 people. And I also love the fact that it was not just that thing we talked about, ripple effect. It's not just about people that joined the fort. For instance, our participants in this course, they engaged over 300 volunteers. So it's not
Amazing.
just about their own team members within.
Amazing.
These are external people that have not joined the fort. They are not part of our leaders, but they have also been they've been drawn into this immersion, this
Spirit.
sports leadership spirit, and they're also passionate about making change in their communities because it takes a lot of it takes conviction to volunteer your time, your resources to join a cause that is not adding anything to you, quote and unquote, because it is our leaders that will get the grades, that will get the applause, that will get the scores if they're going to be graded. But these people are not even in the fort, right? But they were still able to convince them. That's like influence, being able to
Yes.
sell your vision, visionary leadership.
What you just said now reminds me of a student in Uganda. 2 students actually in Uganda. I think Uganda is taking the lead on our capstone project, right?
Yes.
And these 2 students, they work in a community health center, and they observed something that there was no proper waste disposal system there. Waste were being disposed anyhow, and then there was no hand washing area, so people wash clothes just on the floor and everything. And so what they came up with was just under the space of 1 month, they went to the management of the health center. They negotiated, because one of the reasons I love this learning process is that aside learning when you're doing your capstone project, you're learning skills such as negotiation.
Yeah.
You're learning skills such as relationship building. I mean, being able to coordinate volunteers alone. You're able to manage a team of volunteers, right? You're learning things on the go. Normally, you would not just be able to learn by just reading or coming to a class to learn. You're able to learn things on the go, and you're able to convince the management, negotiate with management to create that system of proper waste disposal.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of money. I mean, for the 5th cohort alone, we had, from our calculations at the end of the program, more than 10 million naira spent when we converted all the rates from CFA, from the Ugandan shillings, the naira spent, the dollars spent. More than 10 million naira was spent in a space of 1 month to 2 months. It was really impressive. We're so impressed. So change itself does not have to be so Herculean, so big. So you don't have to go and buy one big truck to pack waste. Something like a very proper waste disposal system, a better place for washing clothes, a better system for tax, stop dumping refuse here, because they did that as well. So it doesn't have to be so grandiose. It can be, like I said before, it can be something as simple as gathering students to teach them leadership, teach them literacy, teach them numeracy, right? So I would ask you now, Emmanuel, from your observation of the 5th cohort, now, what has been the most outstanding measurable impact for the 5th cohort? Because like I said, we don't just do these things, we measure what we do. So what has been the most impactful for you?
Yeah,
the measurable outcome?
Yeah, I think Kolumi already quite succinctly captured many of the things I'd like to say as touching that.
Yes.
And that's the fact that the results they're able to achieve at the end of the day, right? Getting to see these people transition their impact project beyond just an idea to something they can execute is something big, really. It's something
Yes.
big and phenomenal, right? So that ability for them to really transition from having just an idea into something practical that they're able to do is something that I find really inspiring personally, right? That you're able to do something that in the nearest future, people will still be falling back to what you've done. Look at the person that planted trees, for instance.
Yes.
The person might not even be the one might not even really get to benefit. Exactly. Yeah. Right. But in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, such a person will be able to look back and refer to such an impact that he was able to make. Right. So for me, that's something I find really inspiring personally. Okay. And talking about the impact that these people themselves will go ahead in making, we can't fully quantify that, because imagine what 10 people can do. Now imagine doing that in large scale, 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, and not doing it. You can imagine the large scale kind of impact that we end up making at the end of the day. So that ability to transfer knowledge, that fact that I know that I'm not just imparting knowledge, but the knowledge that we are impacting is bringing about transformation in the lives of these people, some of which we can even see already, some of which we can relate to, is something that I find really inspiring. With this, we know that the future of Africa is definitely, we know that the future of Africa is in safe hands. We know that the kind of Africa that we envision, the kind of Africa that we desire to see in the nearest future is something that we are going to live to witness.
Yeah, amazing. As we begin to wrap up this show, the second episode of 4 Talks, I think we should share a bit about what Quad 6 holds to make our participants salivate, to make them anticipate, because I know it's going to be very different, especially with the shift from being basic leadership development courses. Yes, I think we didn't mention the fact that we started I remember we started the Quad 4 with 30 facilitators.
Yes.
It increased to how many in the Quad 5?
We had 52 facilitators.
52 facilitators. Now Quad 6 is how many now?
We're going to be having as much as 150.
Amazing. So just
numbers, right?
Yes, just share in briefs what Quad 6 holds. So intending leaders,
all right,
just get an idea of what Quad 6 holds.
Thank you. Right. So while we're still on the Quad 5, teaching and imparting knowledge for the couple of weeks, there was already demand for Quad 6. People were already asking when the next Quad is going to hold and things like that. Right. So we had to start the wait list for the Quad 6. So we have a very big vision. We have a very big goal for the next Quad, which happens to be Quad 6, that will be starting first quarter next year. And that happens to be the goal of attaining at least 5,000 registrations. And we are still going to be sustaining our decentralized model. Out of that 5,000 applicants, our goal is that at least 4,000 will end up being admitted. And we are going to be establishing as much as 40 forts, applying 100 forts per cohort. 100 times 40, that's 4,000 applications in total. Right. So the idea is that we'll be having at least 40 cohorts with 100 students present, 100 forts rather, and 40 forts rather, with 100 students present in each of these forts, making a total of 4,000. Right. So our big dream is to be able to get at least 5,000 applicants, out of which at least 4,000 should end up being admitted, and we look forward to a graduation rate that is much higher than that of this year. So we definitely want to see something higher than 20%, 25%. So
yes,
because we are particular about, we're having a good number of people graduating also, so that we can have a lot of people out there, making this impact that we really desire.
All right. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Now, Olumi, what excites you about the 6 cohorts? What we have planned on ground?
Okay, so for the 6th cohort, so far our programs have been in English language, and we know that even within West Africa, we have more languages, right? So for the 6th cohort, we are going to be having a bilingual model of instruction. We're going to be having classes both in English and in French, because we know that quite a number of our leaders come from Francophone countries where French is their lingua franca. So we're going to be having both English sessions and also French sessions, and I think that's something that should really excite you.
Yeah, I think it's impressive even that we are doing that digitally, the same system, the same decentralized model. We are not anywhere in the world you are. If you speak French, if you think, because of course we think in languages, we have established that we think in languages, and so if your lingua franca is French, you're able to attend classes in French. Your facilitators are adept at speaking French. If you're more English inclined, you have
English forts
the leaders. So I think it's really beautiful what the sixth cohort holds. And let me go to you, Olumi. If you have one last word to say to somebody that is still reserved about applying for this course, maybe still feeling, oh, it's one of those courses out there. It's one of those hundreds of courses, thousands of courses even out there. What would you say to that one leader that is still not wanting to apply?
So we
Reluctant.
might title it Basic Leadership Development
Or
Course.
foundational now.
Foundational Leadership Development Course. But I'm able to tell you that it's not a course. It's a gateway. It's your gateway into the life of impact. You might have been making impact before, but trust me, you register for this, you get into another level of impact. We teach you how to institutionalize your impact. We teach you how to manage yourself better, how to manage your relationships better, how to channel resourcefulness towards impact, towards making change in the society, starting from your local community to the global level. So if you're still holding back, you're holding back on your future. That's the only thing it means, right? So there's no need to hold back. It's not a course. It's your gateway into leadership.
Thank you very much, Olumi. Now, Emmanuel, what would you say to that one leader that is still reluctant to apply for this course? Like you said, we have a very ambitious goal to get more than 5,000 applications for even the sixth cohort, the Foundational Leadership Development course. So what would you say to that one leader that is still holding back, wherever they are in the world?
All right. So I would firstly like to make that person understand that this course that we're talking about, just as Olumi has rightly put, is not your regular kind of course.
Yes.
It's your gateway literally to a life of impact, influence, and the kind of dreams, the kind of ambition that you have to really desire to accomplish for life. And it is foundational in the sense that if you desire to go far in life, you must really get it right in your foundation. And this is something that this course really help you get right. I mean, basic things that you ought to know as a leader. Talk about ethical leadership, talk about getting knowledge as to lead yourself, lead your community, and all of that. So when you think of the kind of person that you want to become in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, and even beyond, what do you envision, right? So if you desire a system that really will help you facilitate the achievement of that dream of yours, of that vision of yours, then the Fourth Institute is the right place to be. And you get into the Fourth Institute by partaking in the Foundational Leadership Development course. So I'm inviting you to be a part of this. You have no doubt, you have no reason to be fearful of any sort of, or entertain any sort of doubt in your heart. This is a place to be. The testimonies, the results speak for itself. I mean, people that have been a part of this program, when you look at the kind of results they're accomplishing out there, when you look at the kind of impact they are making, when you look at the kind of transformation this program has heralded in their life, definitely you see reasons to be a part of it, and give it a move. Decide to be a part of it and
Apply
come
now.
on board. Yeah, apply now.
Apply now.
The wait list is still on.
Yes.
I think we should talk about what they should expect, what the
Okay.
typical week will be like.
Okay.
So for the cohort 5, the typical week for participants is such that classes hold on Sundays at 5 p.m. So you have
5 p.m.
to-
West African
WAT.
time.
5 p.m. West African time.
7 p.m.
Right.
EAT. East
7
African.
p.m. EAT,
Yeah.
right? So every Sunday you join, it's a video session. You join your session, your facilitator is there. It takes you
On
through,
Google Meet.
he or she on Google Meet. They take you through the session. It's always an interactive class, right?
Very
Our
fun.
facilitators are trained. It's always an interactive class. You ask your questions, your facilitator challenges you, challenges your mindset, shakes tables, and at the end of the class, you know that it doesn't just end there. We have structured the capstone project such that everything that you learn weekly, you can apply them in your capstone project. So we teach you how to negotiate with stakeholders, how to manage relationships and all of those things. And we expect you to put them into your capstone project. So it is expected that beyond the sessions that you'll be attending every Sunday, you'll also be taking reflections into how you can incorporate them into your project, because you have limited time to carry out your project, depending on the kind of project you want to carry out.
Very
For
true.
instance, someone carried out a project in the last course that took 6 weeks. So if you're carrying out a project that takes 6 weeks, you know that you have to start early. So it's not like you just be attending
mago your way
classes
through.
until the last week. You now say, I
Yeah.
want to go and do one project.
Yeah.
No, you have to give thought to what you're going to do.
Exactly.
Don't worry, you're going to be guided. The instructions
And
will
like
be
you
provided.
mentioned something during the graduation of the 5th cohort. People just doing projects just to graduate, not being intentional about it. I think it's right to mention that.
Okay, so here also, we're not just doing projects for the fun of it.
Yes.
Right? This is it. What we say is, look around your community, spot a problem. It's very easy to spot a problem. In fact, everybody can spot a problem. Spotting a problem is not a big deal. Anybody can do it. Leaders, servants, everybody can complain, right? So pick a problem in your community, your immediate community,
Yes.
and then design a solution to solve that problem. It can be as simple as, oh, there are accidents here. Let me paint a zebra crossing so that drivers know that they should stop for pedestrians when they get here. It could be as simple as, oh, there are no trees here. This place it's always hot. Let me plant a tree that can now even solve other problems, that can feed people, that can green the environment, sustainability. It can be as little as that. It can be, as Kingsley said, you see students that are not, you see children that are not in school, out of school children, or I want to design something for them to teach them about literacy, numeracy skills. It can be simple. Oh, you see that girls in this community they feel ashamed because of their menstruation, or they feel like menstruation is something to be ashamed of. You can teach them that. That was the project of our best graduate students.
Yes.
And we had so many people
Samantha
that also
Woman.
did projects that enlightened girls about their reproductive health system, right? So it's just about spotting a problem in your community and designing a solution to solve it. So it's not just, oh, let me just go and do an outreach. No, we are going to grade it. You can have less than 50%. And I particularly am a tough marker. I'm a tough marker.
Thank you so much.
So you want to make sure that you put your thoughts into it.
Thank you so much. I think this is a good point to also appreciate you, Olumi, appreciate you, Emmanuel, the program manager and the instructional designer for the Fourth Institute, and every one of the leadership development courses team not here on the show with us. Ibrahim, Erickson, Adija Tuyaya, and the entire key parts of the four, the facilitators, amazing facilitators joining from everywhere around the world. Amazing. Like when I join in the sessions on Sundays, I'm usually inspired to want to lead better, right? To want to serve better. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for helping us shape this course that has become a globally innovative, competitive course. And really, we might not immediately see the impact of what we are doing because we love playing long term at the Fourth Institute. The impact is there. It's going to show in the next 5-10 years. We are going to see the impact of the work we are currently doing. So thank you so much for helping us shape the next generation of leaders. As we would always say at the Fourth Institute, our motto is Africa's future led differently. The future of Africa is hinged on what we are doing now. We are preparing the next generation of African leaders. We've had leaders that have destroyed the continent, but we are the leaders that would reshape the continent. So thank you so much for what you're doing. And if you're listening to this, thank you so much for also stepping up to lead. Thank you for answering the call to be a transformational leader. Leadership is everywhere, but effective leadership isn't. Thank you for taking up the call to becoming an effective leader. And so if you want to get to know more about what we do at the Fourth Institute, you're seeing it on the screen right now on thefourthinstitute.org. That's our www.thefourthinstitute.org is our website. So you can visit our website. You can visit our social media platforms. We are on Instagram, we are on LinkedIn, we are on X, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook. Anywhere you can find social media, we are there. And we have a newsletter, Letters from the Fourth. You can access that on our website. It reaches thousands of leaders every single week. Thousands of leaders read our newsletters across the world. So you can be a part of what we are building at the Fourth Institute. Like we have rightly mentioned, we are doing something very innovative, and we would love you to be a part of us. We'd love you to partner with us. We'd love you to support the work we are doing. We'd love you to become a fortifier. Fortifiers are alumni at the Fourth Institute. So just become a part of us. Be intentional about your leadership. Be intentional about building the continent of your dreams. Building the continent that we can all be proud of. Our children can be proud of. Our parents can be proud of. The continent that we can be proud of when we are in the Western world, when we are in Europe, we are in the US, the UK, Britain, wherever we are in the world, to say, yes, I'm an African, yes, I'm a Nigerian, yes, I'm a Senegalese, yes, I'm a Togolese, yes, I'm a Tanzanian. Be that kind of leader that your future self will thank you for. So thank you very much, Emmanuel.
Yeah. And
Thank
just
you so much,
just to add to that, as
Yes.
we look forward to the ambitious goal of 2025, we are inviting partner sponsors,
2026.
2026 rather, inviting partner sponsors to really make this happen, because this is a really ambitious goal, to be frank.
I need money.
A lot of resources in there to make
Yes.
that happen, and this is literally a free program.
It's
Nothing
free.
is being ahead. So
It's free.
there's the financial demand, and of course the support of our sponsors and partners will go a long way in really making that happen also, so that it can reach all of the countries, all of the people is supposed to reach so that you can be able to achieve that goal. And just on the final note, to encourage everyone that is going to be applying, they shouldn't start getting tests on the demands and all that. So
it's very easy
it's a
to,
journey you
it's
find
very easy to
fulfilling, it's
apply,
a journey
you know.
you enjoy, and
Yes.
at the end of the day, it's something you are really going to be proud of.
Yes.
Right, that's it for
Thank
me.
you so much. Thank you so much for being on the show with me this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you
It's a
for
pleasure.
having us.
Just
Thank
with Greater 2026.
Yeah.
Yes,
The
looking forward
6th and
to
7th
it.
call. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Till the next episode.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.